Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Nothing Like a Good Book. And I'm Mark Bishop, and our guest is Tom Smith. Heard of that name? Tom Smith. He was born in Jacksonville, Florida, resides in Middleburg, Florida. He's been married to his beloved wife, Nora, way back, and they have two beautiful daughters, Danielle and Kayla. He's been a deacon and servant leader at First Baptist Church, Middleburg, way back since 1990. And one of his favorite roles is leading a men's Bible study group at the church. He's a nice fellow, this guy. He's a good author. In addition to Tom enjoys, what does he do? He likes serving on the board of Sidewalk Ministries. He's a ministry for, that's a ministry for inner city children in Jacksonville, in Florida. They do great work. He's a member of the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. That's the SCBWI, and a member of the John Maxwell team. Also, he's the author, and you might know these, of the Boss Bandit series of children's picture books. That fella. Well, the 3 o'clock calls is this particular book that we're going to be talking about, and it's his first dive into the genre of memoirs. In fact, Tom recently received an honorary Doctor of Humane Letters from the Trinity Baptist College. Well done, Tom. Welcome to Nothing Like a Good Book.
Thank you, Mr. Mark. Very, very happy to be here.
Well, 3 o'clock calls. It's an interesting title because nothing good happens with 3 o'clock calls in the morning, do they? Or is there?
No, sir. I don't know of any good calls at 3 o'clock in the morning, other than I think we've all had the wrong call where somebody's dialed the wrong number, and you're aggravated, but then you're relieved that it wasn't serious.
Yeah, right. Faith, Hope, and Grief, inspiring memoir. The author is Tom Smith. As he answered the call, he saw the time was 3 a.m. Nothing good comes from a 3 o'clock call. The first thing is usually we think of is our children, if they've been in a bad accident or something, or been at a party and done something, or fell off a roof or something like that. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the title, The 3 O'Clock Calls. So, again, welcome, Tom, to NLGB. You know, in describing the purpose of sharing your story, you say that the stories in this book are part of my life. They're massive parts, but they're not the whole of it. I have more to live, more people to love and serve, more to discover about God, but the stories I have told in this book are the poignant ones that keep me believing. Isn't that strange? What do you mean by that, Tom?
Well, Mr. Mark, that came obviously well after the tragedies. When you're in that moment, in that hole, when you're facing those tragedies in life, as we all do, each one of us faces tragedies within our lives, and the book kind of reflects that. Chapters 1 through 9, it talks about the messiness of life. And then chapter 10 is the whole reason the book exists. It's that faith and hope that I hang on to with my faith. And at the moment, Mr. Mark, you're anybody receives a 3 o'clock call, you're kind of in shock. Then you're trying to understand what you just heard, and you're trying to dissect it where you can make sense out of it. And then you're in a moment of just reaction. And then through time, as you process and live it and go through it, and evaluate it, and with lots of emotions, especially grief. I think everybody can relate to grief, and we all grieve in different ways. And then the reality of what's happened as you process it through your faith. If you're a person of faith, then you lean into your faith and you lean into it with everything you have. And that's what I was able to say in that paragraph you just read. It came after the fact, but the relationship I have with Christ allowed me to get through, to lean into that. Yes, sir.
We're going to get into it. And do me a favor. By all means, Tom, just call me Mark, okay? My friends call me Mark.
Yes, sir.
With a K. All right.
No worries. Yes, sir.
Catherine Picard is a librarian book connoisseur. She's given you 5 stars of both religious and non-religious readers will find something in this novel. His discussions of faith and grief are absolutely beautifully devastating, but cut to the heart of the matter in a way that will leave readers deeply touched. That's rather a nice accolade there. Poignant, thoughtful, and emotional, 3 o'clock calls is your memoir. It delves into the lives of 3 central figures in your life. These are George, Danielle, and Blake, and each facing their own battles and transformations, and interwoven within their stories is you, Tom. So the 3 o'clock calls reflects on your faith and the role that these people played in your life and, more importantly, your relationship with God. Is that about it, Tom?
Pretty much, Mark. As I sat down and I contemplated this book, and, it's not something that just happened overnight. This is a process that took place through several years in mine and my wife's life. Mm-hmm. And as we got into this with the first tragedy, and then the second tragedy followed shortly after, and then just recently we just experienced the third tragedy that was finished and was completed August of 2024, and then we wrote the book in December of 2024. So we had a lot of information gathered at the time, thinking that somehow I didn't want to lose the memories of these special loved ones in my life, and so I had a lot of notes jotted down, Mark, and then we just had it on our heart to develop this message, this book, and that's kind of what we did.
The 3 that I mentioned, just explain to us who they are and their designations, and what were they in relation to you in your life for these 3?
Absolutely. Sure. So the first character is George, and as the reader reads the book, they'll learn about
father,
George.
Right? That's your father.
That is.
Okay.
That is.
Mm-hmm.
And George is my father. As the reader discovers, George has lived a rough life, and some of this I got from my father early on, and some of my mother has shared some memories, obviously, when they was first courting, dating, so to speak. And my father, I loved him dearly, and I tried not to make him look too terrible in the book, but what happened. And as my father continued down the road of alcoholism, and I think I've had a lot of folks relate to a parent or a loved one that's been addicted to alcohol. My father certainly was no stranger to it. He just could not put it down, and when he drank, he became very violent, and his violence escalated to murder. And so that was one of the calls I took at 3 a.m. from the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, informing me that my father had, in fact, committed murder.
Well, he was a man, wasn't he, haunted by his past and struggling with alcoholism. And
absolutely.
He recounts his tumultuous journey from making moonshine. You made moonshine with your father, with your dad, and you share, grappling with the consequences of his actions. So you've struggled and carried a lot through your life with this, and then bingo, you get a call at 3 a.m, and all of a sudden, now Dad's committed murder. That'd be a heck of a shock, wouldn't it?
Yes, it was, Mark. I've gotten calls before from the sheriff's office because my father had been arrested numerous times for DUIs, and he had his driver's license permanently confiscated. And so I thought, well, here he is again, driving without a license.
Yeah, right.
And that was much more than that this last time, much more than that. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Then there's Danielle, and now Tom's daughter. Tell us about Danielle.
Oh, man, she was such a beautiful kid. I loved her dearly. She was our first child, taken at 19. She had gotten a collegiate scholarship and was playing golf and loved the game of golf. We played it early on from the first tee. And so as she had gotten a scholarship to go play golf at a university here in Florida out west, it's a 6-hour drive. And as she was headed home from college in the pouring down rainstorm, she didn't make it, Mark, and I described my last conversation with her. Matter of fact, Mark, I almost titled this book Our Last Conversations with all 3 of these characters. And then I thought, well, we took all these calls at 3 o'clock, so then I switched to the 3 o'clock calls. And so at 3 o'clock, when I had spoke to this kid last, she was coming home to be with us, and she just never made it. The rainstorm was severe. Her vehicle hydroplaned, and then a list of events play out which we have to scramble to get to the hospital.
Gee, dear, oh dear, oh dear. That would have been heartbreaking. And apparently, from what I've read, she was a very ambitious golfer, and she could have really gone far with that.
She's a very good golfer, and she had potential. And her sister Kayla, my second child, we took a break from playing golf. It was very difficult to play after the accident, and we just couldn't bring ourselves to it. And we took a year off. And then my daughter says to me one day, she says, "Daddy, are we ever going to start playing golf again?" And I got extremely emotional. I said, "Kid, if you're ready, I'm ready." And it was difficult, Mark.
Right.
We went to those golf courses that we had spent many hours together as a family on, and trying to get back into it.
Hard times, all right, my friend. In fact, you shake a memory of mine way back. In between, I think it was a couple of radio gigs at a time, I wanted a break, and I took a representative's job for menswear and boyswear for a big warehouseman in Melbourne, in Australia. And my territory was up in the country. And I called in to do, pre-orders for this menswear store, and he was so sad. Normally it wasn't him. And then he explained to me that in the country, a lot of this happens, unfortunately. They run off the road, young kids, and they hit trees. And he was dead. And he thought his son was only 21. And it was his world. Oh, wow. His world. And he was a great golfer, and they played golf together. And he said, "Come on, I want to show you something." And he took me out, and this is when I just started myself playing golf, because I'd won a set of golf clubs. But the reality was, I've never seen a man be able to stand only 10 feet back from a tree and hit the ball way up, at least 20 feet of a tree, over the top of it and down. And he said,
"Wow,
that's what I used to be like, and that's what I can do, but I have no interest anymore."
Wow.
So a death can take so much from you. And your book is helpful to people to read if they've lost a loved one. Blake, for instance, your nephew, an apprentice plumber, dreams of a stable future. He faces the harsh realities of life and the impact of his choices. What happened to Blake?
Oh, such a young, gentle spirit at an early age, taken early in his 20s. Blake worked for us. He was my nephew and an employee. And so he had decided to go out with his friends, as most young people do, just a night out on the town. And I had discussions, as you'll read in the book, with Blake about alcoholism, because his grandfather, or my dad, struggled with that addiction, as the reader will discover. And Blake was going down that road in his young 20s, being able to go into those establishments. And so he began to have a little bit of fun at that age. And
I ask you here, Tom, when you say at that age, I thought it was 21 drinking in America.
It is 21, and I think Blake was 23 at the time of his passing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he was of the legal age limit.
Yes, he was. Yeah, he was. And so that's what I'm saying. At 21, he hadn't been doing that long. And I told him, "Blake, we got to be careful, with our family. It could become addictive." And he says, "Uncle Tom, I'm not going to be like Papa George." Right. I said, "Okay, son." And so he went that night and had a good time. But I got to tell you, he was just trying to do the right thing and was in the wrong place at the right time. The time was that he saved his friend's life, because he got into a scuffle in the parking lot when the establishment closed. And as he separated them and trying to keep the peace, and all this revealed in the court testimony as we had to attend that murder trial. Right. The suspect shot Blake instead of the person that they was feuding with, and Blake was just in between the two of them, and
what a way to go!
Basically, gave his life trying to defuse the situation.
Unbelievable how different it could have been if he just walked away.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I mean how John Kelly, he's of the Detroit Free Press, 5 stars and quotes, good friend, and John is a very good critic. He's very honest. Tom Smith's memoir is one family story of life's misfortune and its happiness, and the best way to navigate the stormy seas. It's filled with the best kind of life lessons. And especially poignant during these chaotic times, this book brings a sense of peace and understanding. A very welcome addition to our library. That's Grady Harp. He's from the Amazon Top 100 Hall of Fame review. He gave you 5 stars. So it's not too bad, buddy, for your first memoir. Well, it'll be your last memoir, really, won't it?
That's correct. Yes,
when it comes to that.
Yeah, we hope that we don't have to write anything about that ever again. It's not something I look forward to writing, I'll tell you that.
All right, now
it's not-
three of them nearly knocked you around there. I want to ask you straight out, right, for our listeners, what does faith mean to you?
Oh, wow. Faith means to me, and that's a very good question, Mark. It means believing in something that you just can't see, that science doesn't prove, that you just got to lean in with all your understanding that there is a higher power, and that, as I was raised in a Baptist setting and have studied the Bible most of my life, I just happen to believe that's the infallible truth, and I put everything and all my being into the Word of God, and I believe everything that the Bible teaches, and I believe that, if we have a relationship with Jesus Christ, that and our loved ones have that same relationship, we'll be reunited one day for eternity. I truly believe that with all my heart.
Well, it sounds like that regardless, your life experiences, these terrible three kicks in the guts, they've reinforced your faith.
Absolutely, they have. And Mark, when you're going through that, it's a tough thing, even for a Christian. And I'm often pondered as I've been to, got called to a ministry I didn't particularly want, as I go visit people now that's lost a loved one, whether it be a child or a parent or, a prison ministry visit, through our church. I wonder how that person makes it that don't have that hope of eternal life and don't have that relationship with Christ. I don't know how the person that don't have a faith-based relationship, how they make it. I don't know what they put their hope into.
Well, they have to rely on too many
difficult.
other things. That's the problem, Some atheists say, I don't need a God. I don't need to believe in that. I believe in myself and I do other things. I mean, look, it's Tom, and you could have a 5-hour podcast talking about religion, honestly, and the strength of it and what it can do. I mean, I was brought up in boarding schools and benediction every night, church every morning. Till it came out of my ears out the yin-yang. You won't catch me near a church these days as you get older.
Yes.
But I believe in God and I believe in a higher power. But if I said to you, listen, aliens are coming and they're going to land, what would you think then?
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, I would be thinking Mark has just came off his rocker.
Here's what I believe. If that did happen, there's still a God. There's still number one.
Absolutely.
There's still the soul. There's still it. There's only one God,
Absolutely.
The higher power. And
Absolutely.
aliens also were born under the one God. And we're
Absolutely.
just thousands of years behind. But anyway, how do we get onto that? What can both religious and non-religious readers take away from this memoir, do you think?
Well, that's where, I can appreciate, Mark, the comments that you're reading, and it's gotten wonderful reviews. I keep waiting and cringing for when the atheist leaves a review, and that hasn't happened yet, because I tried not to write this book in such a way that I didn't want to come across like I was judgmental or self-righteous. I'm not none of those people. I'm just a regular person trying to make sense out of these tragedies, as most people would struggle with this. Even with my faith, it's been difficult, and I hope that whoever the reader may be, and whether they're encouraged by or hopefully recognize that life goes on, and you got your family to live for, you've got other people to live for, you still got life to live, and if they discover Christ in their lifetime, then this whole book will have been worth it. If just one person can read this book and discover eternity, then I will feel like then my calling for this book has truly been rewarding, even though we've experienced such sad losses here, Mark.
Well, in what you do in your life right now, and the help that you give people, and the things that you run in the community, I guess you'd be one author that wouldn't mind printing a lot of the books to be able to hand them out, right?
I do that. I do that, Mark, and thank you for bringing that to my attention. I give away more than I'm pretty sure that these books sell, and that was the purpose. It's wonderful that people get them that I don't know, but I give just as many of them away as probably that.
Well, that's fantastic. I mean, just one soul alone that gets the benefits out of that has paid for itself. Not everything in life is always money in the down pocket, is it? It's always it's gratitude and giving and sharing and paying forward and so on, because,
that's right.
I do talk. That's a nice attitude to have for that reason. I mean, authors, being honest, authors do have, garages full of books and stuff, and they haven't got an opportunity to give them away. You do, which is fabulous. How does the community play a role in overcoming grief, do you think?
That book, you'll discover that, man, I have really leaned hard into our faith community. People say, Mark, I don't need church. I was forced to go to church all my life. And just like you said earlier, and so was I. I was raised in a Baptist church. I was expected to be there on Sundays and Wednesday nights. And I rebelled a little bit as I got older, and I came back to the church and thank the Lord that I did, because the church community has really surrounded us. They have really helped us navigate through some of these crises that we've been through. They've loved on us. Your original family, your immediate family is going to love on you, Mark, but that church family, when you get that support and that how you doing. I had somebody cut my grass for a solid year and couldn't figure out who it was. My grass was being cut before I got home. It was a church member. My trash was being taken out. My trash can was being brought into the house for a solid year. I couldn't figure out who it was. It was a church member. And the things that they just do, and it's like, man, it's just lifting up one another and sharing the love and the grief that you go through as a body of Christ. And it's been a beautiful thing, Mark.
Yeah, lovely sharing. That's a nice story. What's your opinion of the so-called Bible Belt in America?
Yeah, they say the Bible Belt runs through the South, and it's funny you ask that question. I just got done reading a book about the history of the church. It was a 600-page novel. Mark, I didn't think I was going to ever get through it.
Yeah, right.
And understanding
talk about Gone with the Wind, huh?
Oh my goodness, yes, talking about the history of the churches and understanding from the first church right on down to the churches we have today with all the 200 plus denominations in the Bible Belt, which is pretty strong in the South. Which is made up of a lot of Baptists and Methodists. I think
200 denominations.
That's kind of what I read.
Stone the crows, I tell you what.
That's a lot.
Spin the ladle. You know what I mean? Unbelievable. Yeah. Anyway, what do you believe people should prioritize in their relationships?
Well, I got to tell you, family first. I think we can all get carried away with our work, and we can pour into our work, and at the end of the day, we look back and what have we done? So I think you can't never get your family time back. You can never get it back. So I'm not, I'm not sad that that I didn't have the time with my daughters, because I made time with my loved ones, and I made sure that was my priority. And I think that we've got to establish that priority with family. Work is always going to be there, Mark, but you just don't know what life brings with your family. And my book is a testament to that.
How did Nora take all of this? Like a typical parent, a mother? Why did God take my child so young? That type of thing, or more prophetic. No, it was meant to be, and God's choice, God's will.
I got to tell you, and thank you for asking that question. That wife of mine, she has been the rock to our family, as most women are, I think, when I talk to men. My wife was raised Catholic originally, being from Texas, and she converted to Baptist, faith in 1990 as we started attending church and raised our daughter in the churches. And my wife was able to be there for me, and I'm there for her, and we both leaned into each other, and we had to, rely on each other for each other's strength, because, you grieve at different times, and the most difficult time is when you lose a loved one is the holidays. And so we didn't want to just bum out the holidays for our youngest daughter, Kayla, so she'd go into the bedroom and cry and come back out during the holidays, then I would go in there and cry and come back out, and we kind of fake it till we make it. We didn't want to, we didn't want our little ones to think, oh my gosh, Kayla's thinking another holiday, my mom and dad's going to be sad instead of happy. So there's a lot that she was able to bring to the family with her strength, and she was a godsend for me.
Right. Yeah, lovely. Well, parenting and faith, they intertwine, don't they, in life, no matter what. So the main takeaway of each of the three parts in your book, chapter 1, we start off, there was a lot to read, and I can't get to read every book that comes in that I'd like to. And George, was all about chapter 1. I started to cry, I think, myself when the little one was calling out for his sister.
Yes.
That was very sad. In chapter 2, Danielle is all about Danielle, and when she met Coach Robin Dezan, I think his name, before finalizing her college decision, she'd never doubted. She wanted to go to UWF, correct?
She did, the University of West Florida. She certainly
right.
did.
Why was that sort of the number one choice?
This was a moment. This was a moment, Mark. We had 10 colleges looking at her, and we made 10 visits and 5 official visits. And she goes, Daddy, I want to save University of West Florida to last. And so we went out there to West Florida, about 6 hours away, which is Pensacola, Florida, in relationship to Jacksonville, Florida, where we're located. And we went out there, and she met the coach, and she decided that was the place she wanted to go to college, and they made her an offer. And I said, Kayla, can I ask you why you wanted to come here? And she said, Daddy, I want to finish what my sister started, and I want to honor Danielle. And man, it ripped our heart out, and that's exactly what she did. She had a stellar collegiate career, #1 seed on her golf team, and she graduated and was able to say that, Daddy, I hope we honored our sister by finishing what she started. And man, the kid was all about honoring her sister. Beautiful moment there.
Oh,
Mark.
yes, indeed. Absolutely beautiful. So, Tom, how did writing this book differ, do you think, then? Well, maybe I got to rephrase the question, but I mean, okay, how does it differ from your previous children's books? Because let's face it, this is sad and memoir versus, creative thinking from a point of view.
Yes. So I struggle with that, Mark. I kind of fought back and forth with the Lord when that kind of laid on my heart. The children's book kind of came natural. I used to read children's books to my girls all the time. I love reading books. I like a good old-fashioned book in my hand instead of always staring at a computer screen or an iTablet, with all the social media. I said, man, I want to write books. And so we wrote the children's books. And when the Lord laid this one on my heart, the 3 o'clock calls, I said, Lord, I'm not equipped to write the 3 o'clock calls. I'm not sure I know how to format a book like this. And he said to me very sternly at 2 a.m, I'll never forget it. I sat straight up in bed. He said, Tom, you read The Shack from cover to cover by William Young in 2008, May of that year. And he says, format it and set it up just like The Shack. And I said, well, okay. And that's why you see it goes from George Danielle Blake, George Danielle Blake, George Danielle Blake.
Right.
That's where the format came from.
Yeah,
Mark.
I noticed that in the book, and I have it up on the screen because I have an e-copy of it, of course. But interesting. But I noticed too, you just said 2 o'clock. Notice that one wasn't 3 o'clock.
Yeah, that was at 2 o'clock when he woke me up, because I remember looking at the clock. If it had been 3 o'clock, I would have got extremely this is just way too wild of all these alignments.
There's something with that. I don't care what people say. It's when my angels wake me up if I have an idea or something I've been struggling with, and you go to bed with, and you pray that maybe, you'll be given the answer to be able to sort it out. And it's usually 3 o'clock or 3:30 for me on the dot. And that's when I wake up, and that's when I grab a pen or go to the loo, whatever I got to do. But it's 3 o'clock, I'm thinking. But it's just a strange hour. Grady Hart,
it is.
Amazon, they all love it. The 3 o'clock calls, ladies and gentlemen, that's the name of the book. Yeah, the 3 o'clock calls. And if you've ever had a 3 o'clock call, you got to get this book. And even if you haven't, it's so beautifully written, you'll feel like one of the parents, right? That's the beauty of it. It's an ebook. It's only 134 pages, so it's not that long, It was brought out by Wespo Press. It is available on Amazon, correct, Tom?
Yes, it is.
All right. This would be a nice gift, I think. Yeah, would be a nice gift. And
absolutely.
Anything else you'd like to say or to add to it in closing?
Well, I would say, first of all, Mark, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate your questions. The book is, a very easy read, like you said, 134 pages. It's 10 chapters, 40,000 words. I think the average reads an hour and a half to 2 hours. And then my prayer is that when the reader gets this book and reads it, instantly they think of somebody that they can pass it on to encourage the person that the Lord lays on their heart. That's what I hope out of this book. Yeah,
very, very nice reasoning, and, I think it will do an awful lot of good for a lot of people. Folks, if you want to have a good look at Tom getting a nice award, may I suggest you go to markbishopmedia.com until I can get my site up with Nothing Like a Good Book, with everything I'm doing. It's going to be wonderful when it's finished, but not ready yet. So still go to markbishopmedia.com, go to the third tab, and you go to shows. That's what the third tab is. And when you just scroll down all the shows, different shows on the channel, and you're going to see Nothing Like a Good Book. And when you go in there in a couple of days from now, Tom's bio is up there and his lovely photograph. Who is that friend? Who was giving you that award at that time?
Okay, that was the president of Trinity Baptist College. That was Mr. Mac Hebner.
Ah, okay.
Yes. That was for the honorary doctorate. So flattered, so flattered.
Yeah, it's a nice picture. Very nice picture. Trinity Baptist College. And yes, you must be very proud. And I like the framework on it as well. That's pretty good.
Yes. Yes.
Anyway, it's all there, folks. You can listen to it anytime, many times as you want. Of course, it gets distributed out there, out into the platforms and your Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Deezer and Castbox and iHeartRadio and so on and so on. You never know who can hear this worldwide, global. That's what I love about this particular industry. And let's hope it does a lot of good, and I believe it will. If you read this book, it's going to give you a nice outlook on how to handle things like this when the darn phone rings at 3 a.m. Tom, it's been a pleasure. Take care.
Likewise.
God bless.
God bless.